Hey guys, this is Ms.A, and in this video we are going to be crafting sentences for some new vocabulary words, and the sentences we write are going to contain context clues. So that's actually our learning target for this video lesson. At the end of the lesson we want to be able to write example sentences for our new vocabulary words that use context clues. Alright, so when we first encounter new vocabulary words, the first part of our routine is we're going to look at the words, just the words, not the definitions, and based on just that word, we're going to rate our knowledge of the word. We're going to use a 4-number scale. 1 is going to be if you've never seen or heard the word before. You're going to give the word a 2 if you've seen or heard it before, but you don't really know what it means. A 3 is going to be if you know it and you can define the word. You could actually give the definition to someone. A 4 is if you are an expert on that word. You know the definition. You can use the word in a sentence. In fact, you could use it in multiple sentences. You could teach that word very easily to somebody else. Alright, so take a moment to rate the vocabulary words. Since this is summer vocabulary, instead of having a vocabulary sheet, you're going to click on the link that I've also attached onto the Edmodo assignment post. It's for the Google form for these vocabulary words. And the first 4 questions are going to be these words, and you'll be able to click your rating of the word. When you're done, you're going to continue with the video. So you should press pause now. Alright, so our first word is quiver. Quiver is a verb, which means it's an action word. So when someone is quivering, it means that they're shaking or trembling. Usually we shake or tremble when we're feeling fear, although there are other reasons why somebody might quiver. You could quiver in excitement. You could quiver because it's cold. But usually the most common context is going to be fear. So in our cartoon example sentence, we see Robin Hood. He says, when greedy men hear the name Robin Hood, they quiver in fear. So they shake or tremble in fear, or maybe because it's cold out. So here the joke is what we just talked about a moment ago, how there are more than one circumstances in which somebody might quiver. Another example would be from the cartoon ScoobyDoo. The characters of Shaggy and Scooby always quiver at the first sign of anything scary. They are true scaredy cats. Alright, our next word is adhere. Adhere is a verb, so it's also an action word. When you're adhering something, it means you're sticking fast to it as if by glue. So that's the literal definition of adhere. You can use it if you're referring to pasting something or taping something, like in the cartoon. We ran out of tape, but I found lots of other things that can also adhere my posters to the wall, that can also stick my posters to the wall. Now, however, adhere can also mean not just literally sticking something with tape or paste. It can also mean when you are attached or devoted to someone or something. It can mean to hold. For example, sometimes people adhere to opinions. It means they're sticking to their opinions. So no matter what context, adhere is usually a synonym for sticking to something. My sister was very annoyed when she found out I planned to adhere or stick to my husband, even after our big fight. She really wanted us to break up. So in this sentence, the woman is going to stay with her husband. She's going to remain devoted to him or loyal to him. You could also talk about adhering or sticking to rules, like in school. It's important to adhere to the rules so that the building isn't ruled by chaos. So we want to follow the rules, we want to be devoted to them, we want to stick to them. Alright, our next word is paucity. Paucity is a noun, and we know that nouns are people, places, things, or ideas. Paucity is a word that names anything that is very small in number. So just like with other kinds of nouns, you can talk about the paucity of something. It's not an adjective, so you're not going to describe something and say, that's a paucity box. That is not grammatically correct. But you could talk about the paucity of the box. Or, like in this cartoon example sentence, you could talk about the paucity of the stars on the flag. The colors and the stripes look great, but I'm not crazy about the paucity of stars. Can we add a few more? So what are they saying about the stars in this sentence? They're saying that there is a small number of stars, a paucity of stars. You could also have a sentence like this one on the right. The scientists were having a paucity of ideas. They were having a small amount of ideas. A paucity of ideas in their work to invent a super potion. So they didn't have a lot of ideas. They were having trouble with their invention. Or this cartoon right on the left. Ever since you gave me this new hairdo, I've had a paucity of boyfriends. A very small number of boyfriends. Alright, so our final word is frugal. Frugal is an adjective, and we all know that adjectives are words to describe nouns, which means that you are going to pair the word frugal up with the noun, the person, place, thing, or idea that you're going to be describing. So when you describe someone or something as frugal, you're saying that they are thrifty or that it is inexpensive. Thrifty is a way nicer, more positive way of saying cheap. So I would rather be called frugal. It has a positive connotation. It's basically saying when you're frugal that, or thrifty, that you know how to kind of save money in a good way. But when you call somebody cheap, it has a more negative connotation. You're kind of implying that they're saving money to an excessive amount, like they don't really need to do it. We wanted a frugal vacation this year. They wanted an inexpensive vacation this year. So we just switched houses with our neighbor for a week. Sounds like a terrible vacation to me. Since my father is out of work, my family has to be very frugal when spending money. We have to be very careful. When you're frugal, you're careful. You make sure you're not spending too much. You're basically putting yourself on a budget when you're being frugal. Alright, so now it's time for independent practice. You're going to take each of the 4 vocabulary words and write your own example sentence. You have sentence frames on the screen that you can use to help you write your sentence, but you don't have to use them. You can come up with sentences on your own. And whenever we learn new vocabulary words, remember that in your sentence, if you can use a previous vocabulary word, that's always going to be worth bonus points. So again, since this is summer vocabulary, you're going to go back to your Google form, and the next 4 boxes are going to be for you to write your sentences.